It's time to talk about the most overrated and underrated part of each World Showcase country. Some of you might get mad. We're gonna go to each of the 11 countries and we're gonna talk about something that's probably considered overrated by a lot of people and something that's considered underrated. You know, we're gonna get into the attractions, we're gonna get into snacks, some drinks, maybe help you find a new one, and provide tips and tricks for how to have the best time ever when you come to EPCOT. I hope you're ready, I hope you're excited. We got 11 countries to go to. We've made it to our first country, the beautiful land of Canada, the Great White North, our neighbors upstairs. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, Canada was kind of a hard one to do because there's not a whole lot to do in Canada. I think there's a lot of people that think Le Cellier is overrated because it's very expensive. There are times when it's hard to get a reservation, and people have said that they've had uneven dining experiences there. But in my experience, Le Cellier has always been fabulous. I understand that it's expensive, but it's a Disney World signature restaurant, and that cheddar cheese soup is so good, it brings a little tear to my eye. It's one of the best things to eat in all of EPCOT. I think the answer is much simpler. I actually think the answer to both overrated and underrated both live here at the Maple Popcorn Cart. Here they are, friends, both the most overrated and underrated thing in Canada. Let's start with the negative and go positive. I'm calling this, which is a frozen Coca-Cola with a shot of Crown Royal Whiskey, the most overrated thing. And we are calling this maple popcorn, the most underrated thing. Let's get into why. It's kind of melted by the time I took all the pictures and stuff, per usual, as is my life, but let's get that all mixed up. Let me start by saying the stuff I say is overrated. You can like it too. It can be overrated and liked, but there's just maybe some negatives about it. Now, is this good? Yeah. Is it delicious? Of course it is. Is it sweet? Yeah, of course it is. Is it cooling on a hot day? I mean, it is cold. You can't use this to hydrate. We all know that, but the reason I do not think this is a great purchase is because it's $16. Now, I'm not saying drinking at Disney World is inexpensive. In fact, it's very, very expensive, which is why you should be very choosy with which cocktails and purchases you make when you're drinking around the world at EPCOT. Is it tasty? Yeah. Will it cool you down? Yeah. But is it worth $16? Is this what you should pick when you're drinking around the world? Not in my opinion. Now for the underrated. You know how I feel about this popcorn. You've seen other videos. This maple popcorn is one of the most underrated snacks in all of EPCOT, in my opinion. It's better than the caramel corn over in Germany. As someone who doesn't like sickly sweet, over-the-top desserts, this is perfect. It's got a little bit of sweetness because that real maple, and then it's got the saltiness from the popcorn. It's really shareable. It's $6.50, which, again, Disney's expensive, we all know that, but that's not horrible for this whole shareable carton. Plus, best thing about it, if you have a popcorn bucket, you can spend the $2 refill cost and refill your bucket with maple popcorn. You can also buy your popcorn bucket there and then have it for the rest of the trip. To be honest though, one of the most other underrated things about this pavilion is how pretty it is. I think because there's not a lot to do here, people often don't go exploring, but make sure you do. Go look at the waterfall, go look at the gardens. This is definitely one of the prettiest pavilions. I opened my mouth to start talking just now, and I almost started doing a British accent, and then I was like, the people have had enough. So I will spare you my accent right now as we talk about the most overrated and underrated things here in our next pavilion, the United Kingdom. Oh gosh, it came out. I'm sorry. We're getting real specific again in this one because the most overrated thing is not an actual place. It's not a certain restaurant. It's not a certain shop. It's literally a certain dish on a menu. And we're talking fish and chips. Record scratch sound. And we're talking fish and chips. No, don't worry. I don't mean those fish and chips at the walk-up stand. I mean those fish and chips at the Rose and Crown dining room. Please allow me to explain. Fish and chips, obviously a staple in the United Kingdom, one of the most popular things to eat when you're in EPCOT, and they are certainly delicious. But if you are paying the money to go to the Rose and Crown dining room just to order fish and chips, don't do that. Fish and chips at the Rose and Crown dining room are $26 a person. over at the Yorkshire County Fish Shop, they're $13 a person. Now, I do think the portion is slightly bigger at Rose and Crown, but essentially, it's the same thing. They taste more or less the exact same. You can douse it in malt vinegar or tartar sauce, your choice. I'm team malt vinegar at either place. But don't spend the money to go sit at a sit-down restaurant here in EPCOT and then buy something that you could get for half the cost at a quick service location. If you're going to both Disney and Universal on your vacation, the best fish and chips you can get are at Leaky Cauldron and Three Broomsticks in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. It's never frozen fish, it's hand-breaded, it comes with house-made tartar sauce and a lemon wedge. It crushes either of these. And the most underrated thing here in the United Kingdom, the entertainment. I know when people think entertainment, United Kingdom is probably not the country that comes to mind. You probably think of American Adventure. You might think of Mariachi Cobre over in Mexico. But let me tell you what, there is a great act that is back here in the United Kingdom, as well as some really fun and more rare characters make appearances here back in the gardens of the UK. First of all, as far as the characters go, you've got Mary Poppins, who I just said hello to. How are you?
Oh, quite well, thank you. How are you today?
I'm good. I've been looking for a chalk drawing to escape into.
Oh, yes. There should be a chalk paper artist today, so just keep a keen eye for any beautiful pavement.
Have you gone into any chalk drawings recently?
Lovely seaside scape you drew the other week, and it was marvellous to have a picnic with the Banks children.
That sounds pleasant.
Or some caramel for a spoonful of sugar too. It's delightful.
As well as Alice. And I'm so excited because back performing here in the gazebo, they have finally brought back a live band. This band that's currently here is called the Hooligans, and they play British rock from the 60s to the 90s. So you know you're going to get some Beatles, some Rolling Stones, maybe some Oasis. Grab a pint from the pub, come back here, and listen to some live great music. And you can search for them in the My Disney Experience app to see what days they play and what times they play. They do not play every day, so make sure you check so you're not disappointed when you're planning out your trip. Bonjour, I have made it to France, where I actually have two overrateds. One I full-heartedly agree with, one I conditionally agree with, and of course, a good underrated. First up, the one I conditionally agree with, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. That's right, I'm talking about one of the newest attractions in Walt Disney World, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. But again, let me explain, this is a conditional overrating. Because you know when something's overrated? When you wait in that line. I don't know about you, but if I wait in that line in the heat for 90 to 120 minutes, just about any attraction is going to be considered overrated. And that's what you're working with here at Remy. Because it is new, because it is exciting, people are waiting in a very, very long line for it, and then some people are leaving disappointed. Now, don't get me wrong, I think this attraction is adorable. I like it more and more every time I ride it. I think it's super cute. There's a lot of great detail. I love that it's a mix of English and French. I think the trackless technology is very cute, and I think this whole new expanded area is great with a lot of awesome details. I did a whole video about this area when it first opened with all the Easter eggs and nods to the attraction and other Pixar things, which I recommend you check out if you want to learn more. But because, again, of the long line, it's hard not to say something's overrated if you wait 2 hours for it and it doesn't absolutely blow your minds. Remy's Ratatouille Adventure is not a thrill ride. It's not an over-the-top attraction. It's a very, very cute family ride, which I think EPCOT desperately needed. So, because of that, a lot of people tend to say it's overrated, say it wasn't worth their time, which, again, I agree. I don't think you should wait 2 hours in line for basically anything in a theme park. How do you not wait in a 2 hour long line, though? That is what we are here to help you with so that you don't consider Remy overrated. And the one I wholeheartedly agree with, the Beauty and the Beast sing-along. Now, don't get me wrong, Beauty and the Beast sing-along can be a great break from the heat. It gets you inside in a theater for a few minutes, and you do get to hear music from the hit Beauty and the Beast. But the new take on the plot, that LeFou was behind everything, it's ridiculous. And I know I said things have to be rated for it to be overrated or underrated, and I know I said in Canada the movie didn't really apply because not a lot of people like that movie, but of any of the movies in EPCOT, this is the one I often see the longest line for. You'll see it going all the way out through the pavilion at times, and because it's Beauty and the Beast, people get the most hyped for it. If you've got a Beauty and the Beast obsessed kid, go for it. If you've got the desire to sit down for a few minutes in air conditioning, go for it. What I will say is underrated, however, is the exhibit inside the theater. When you go inside the theater, there are a few exhibits from famous French works of literature and screen and play. We are talking about props from the live-action Cinderella and the live-action Beauty and the Beast, play props from Hunchback of Notre Dame and Les Mis, so I do recommend going and checking that out. But as far as the show goes, I wouldn't wait a super long time for it, like I see people doing. I certainly wouldn't wait for more than one show to let out. Use it for air conditioning if that's what you need. Which brings us to the most underrated thing here in the France Pavilion, and I am going with La Crêperie de Paris. Now, La Crêperie de Paris opened along with Remy's Ready to Adventure, and there's two sections. There's a sit-down restaurant right here, and there is a walk-up window right here. And at the sit-down restaurant, you can actually do a special for $35 a person, where you get a soup or salad to start, you pick a savory crepe, which is called a galette, and then you also pick a sweet crepe and a drink, and that drink can be alcoholic, which is a great deal at a Disney theme park. To get essentially a 3-course meal and a drink for $35, that's pretty impressive. But what's also great is the walk-up stand right here. They've got sweet and savory crepes, they've got ice cream, they've got cocktails, and look at this. It's a busy EPCOT day, and there's literally no line. Now, am I saying that the creperie is better than the French bakery? That it's better than Chefs de France? No, I'm not saying that. But is it better than waiting in a long line somewhere else for a snack? Yes. Is it going to be a better snack than a lot of things you get? Yes to that as well. And you know what? A crème brie cheese galette sounds like just the ticket right now. Here's my delicious looking crepe. Again, this is a savory crepe, so it's made with buckwheat flour, which is gluten friendly, and it's the brie cheese one, so it's just like covered and filled with ooey gooey brie cheese. And that's it. Simple deliciousness. Also, yes, I'm eating on a trash can. It's an EPCOT thing, there's not enough tables. But look at all this cheese. As a cheese lover, this is like literally my dream. I've said it before, I'll say it again. France is the king of simple deliciousness. That's what I want when I eat good food. I just want simple flavors, and that's what it always is. They import all these ingredients. This cheese is amazing. Some people don't love the buckwheat. I like it. It's filled to the brim with ooey gooey cheese that's oozing out every time. People are sleeping on the creperie. And again, I'm not telling you that this is better than the bakery, because you know the bakery has a special place in my heart and a lot of yours. But the bakery line gets really long, and this one doesn't really. And it's delicious. If we're talking underrated in World Showcase, I think this might actually be the most underrated pavilion of all. It's got some great food, it's got some great entertainment, and Princess Jasmine being back. It's got some beautiful decorations and decor, fun shopping. So I do think Morocco, if we're gonna call one whole pavilion underrated, it would be this one. Okay, I know I just praised the food, but I'm gonna have to give overrated to the current iteration of Tangerine Cafe. I know, it hurts my heart to say it, trust me. For a long time, Tangerine Cafe was one of the highest rated quick service restaurants in all of EPCOT. It was a low-key favorite of a lot of people, myself included. It was somewhere where you could get some really delicious flavorful food. It was a little bit on the healthier spectrum, a little bit on the lighter spectrum compared to a lot of what you can get at EPCOT. But unfortunately, things have changed a little bit. Something interesting happened in Morocco because of the closure. This used to be owned and operated by third-party companies doing the food, and they actually had some issues during the pandemic, and Disney bought them out. So now Disney's running the food and the beverages, and a lot of options have not returned yet, but the options that have returned aren't quite back to their former glory, and Tangerine Cafe is absolutely a victim of that. You just can't consider this a top-tier quick service restaurant the way you once could, which is really, really a huge bummer. And I hope as they continue to reorganize things and figure things out, that this goes back to its former glory. And in keeping what I was saying earlier, the most underrated thing in this pavilion is literally the pavilion. It's absolutely gorgeous. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It is the only pavilion that had craftsmen from that country come help work on the architecture here, because the royals in Morocco wanted to make sure their country was well represented here in the United States. And there are so many just nooks and crannies to walk through. If you want to take a good Instagram picture, come to Morocco. I'll show you some great spots. It's also a great spot to come for some unique souvenirs. They've got a little sangria bar back here, but there's tons of tables kind of nooked around all over. So you can usually find a table here easier than you can at the other pavilions. But look, here's this beautiful fountain right here. Take a fabulous picture right there. It's getting a little busier back here now that Princess Jasmine is back. Her line extends all the way back here often, but you can still usually find a table. Look, you can take a beautiful picture right by that door. It'd be amazing. It's called the Fez House, and it's so gorgeous. I love it in here. There's usually not a ton of people, and it's got this beautiful tile work and woodwork and this open ceiling. Absolutely gorgeous. Wait a few minutes, you'll get it to yourself, and you can take the best Sims to pick. Konnichiwa from our next country. We have made it to the beautiful pavilion of Japan. Another one that could win on aesthetics alone because it is absolutely stunning around this pavilion. This is definitely one of the most popular pavilions because there's fan favorite restaurants like Teppanydo. There's the Mitsukoshi store, which is amazing here, that Japanese department store. But neither of those are the things we're talking about today. Kicking things off again with most overrated, we're going to give that to Katsura Grill, which is the quick service restaurant here in Japan. A lot of people when eating around the world are super excited about eating in Japan. Rightfully so. Japanese cuisine is incredible and unique and one of the most popular types of cuisine around the world. When you think Japanese cuisine, you think amazing sushi, you think ramen, you think delicious items. And unfortunately, people go into Katsura Grill thinking they're going to get something incredible, and they are really not. Unfortunately, the food at Katsura Grill is mediocre at best. It's not really a good representation of Japanese food. It's not even the best Japanese food you can get in this pavilion. I know it's a lot more expensive, but your sit-down restaurants are much better food than here at Katsura Grill. You can even get similar sushi that is quick service over at the cart that sells the kakigori-shaped ice over this way. I would recommend doing that as opposed to going to eat at Katsura Grill. It's very beautiful. You've got beautiful gardens and bridge, but no one wants to sit outside, and it's really, really small inside. But I promise you can get much better food around World Showcase. You can usually get much better food at whatever the Japanese festival booth is going on. And if you really truly want Japanese food, do one of the sit-down restaurants. I did a Teppanydo review recently, and I'm still dreaming about that volcano roll. They might be the most underrated thing. Would that be weird if I said fish are the most underrated thing in this pavilion? I won't. Instead, I have got to give it up for the drummers that perform here several times a day. The all-female power drummers. They are amazing. I love Streetmosphere. I love live entertainment in the Disney parks, and this is one of the best acts that you can see around World Showcase. They're again an all-lady drummer group, and they are incredible. It's not a very long set. I know it gets really hot out here, so maybe see an earlier or a later one, but you can find their times in the My Disney Experience app, and they're really, really good. They're much stronger than I will ever be. They could definitely beat me up, and they explain kind of the symbolism and some of the rituals and beautiful things about Japanese culture while they're doing it. So these have got to be the most underrated things. I feel like it's one of those things that people just stumble upon and watch a minute or so and then keep moving. But they are in the My Disney Experience app, and if you are doing a nice stroll around World Showcase, they're a great act to see. Howdy, y'all. We have made it to the American Adventure, the Host Pavilion, halfway around World Showcase. This is home to a stage show, some live performances, quick service restaurant, art gallery, and a couple little shops. All right, I'm here to make enemies, I guess. Or maybe not, maybe some of y'all agree with me. I have to say the most overrated thing, Regal Eagle Smokehouse Craft Drafts and Barbecue. Have I eaten at Regal Eagle before? Yes, several times. Is it good? Yes, it is. The fact that they serve their brisket sandwich on garlic toast is culinary genius. But, also the banana pudding, very good. But this is overrated things. Should you come here when you could eat around World Showcase for something a little more exotic? I just have a really hard time sending people to a barbecue restaurant when there is cuisine from around the world that you probably don't get frequently, and there's also better quick service barbecue in Walt Disney World. If you really have a hankering for quick service barbecue while you're in Walt Disney World, go to the Polite Pig at Disney Springs. It runs laps around Regal Eagle. Now, what's great about Regal Eagle is the theme, of course. It is casually Muppets themed. We love that. And it is large and inside, and it's a huge improvement from Liberty Inn, which was the restaurant beforehand. But again, this is overrated. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying you're going to be disappointed if you eat here. I'm just saying there are much better options around World Showcase. The Underrated is the American Adventure. And no, I don't mean the entire pavilion, I mean the stage show. Talking about that lovely 30-minute show that tells you the tale of American history. Well, parts of American history. That can't cram the whole thing into 30 minutes. I often call out American Adventure as one of the most underrated things that you can do in Epcot. It's also one of the best things you can do to get out of the heat. It's halfway around World Showcase. If you're drinking around the world, you probably need to sit down for 30 minutes in the air conditioning. It's really, really hot right now, so it's a great place to stop. Again, sit, get some AC. I will say the caveat to this one is there is definitely a very targeted audience. Again, it's a 30-minute show, so young kids are probably not going to sit still and enjoy it. Though if you can get them to sleep, that's never a bad thing. Am I right? Hey, by the way, you can take a nap too. No one's here to judge you. But if you've got older kids that are learning about American history in school, this is really cool because they get to see some of that history come to life. I also say the same thing about adults. If you have no interest in American history at all, you don't care about any of this, then maybe this show isn't for you. But I know, like, my grandfather loves this show. My parents love the show. I love this show because I do like American history. I was in AP US history in high school. Thank you very much. And it's got some really cool animatronics. Like, when one of them walks up the stairs, every time I'm like, how did they do that? That's incredible. So American Adventure, great show. This is one of the shows that I do recommend. Unlike the Beauty and the Beast sing-along, if you're going to sit down for something for a little bit in Epcot, I think this is a great choice. Welcome to the absolutely stunning Italia Pavilion, where again, there's not a lot going on except for eating and drinking, which I think that's probably pretty Italian. Now, some might say it would be easy to peg Via Napoli as the most overrated place in Italy because it is that Italian pizza. It's very hard to get a reservation, an incredibly popular restaurant. A lot of people may think, hey, that can't be worth the hype. It's just pizza. Those people are wrong. It's the best pizza you'll ever eat in your whole life, unless you actually go to Italy, I presume. I'm just thinking about it right now and having a minute. I can't possibly say that that's overrated. What I can say is overrated, though, is the sister restaurant right here, Tutto Italia. Tutto Italia is a full-service restaurant that offers lasagna, pastas, chicken parmesan, kind of your classic Italian fare beyond pizza. And it is attached to Tutto Gusto Wine Cellar, which used to be one of the best places you can come in Epcot to sit down inside, get a charcuterie board, get an antipasti, get a glass of wine. However, Tutto Gusto currently is only available for to-go drinks, which knocks it down many, many pegs. Good drinks, but there's no just sitting in there with a cheese board anymore. But Tutto Italia is fine. Disney tends to struggle with Italian food for some reason. The problem with Tutto Italia is it's nothing that unique. It's just a much more generic place, and it's going to be very expensive. So if you're going to pay to sit down and eat in Italy, make it Via Napoli and make it something more unique. Is the most underrated thing in Germany the tiny train set? It might be. It's so cute. This might be the most underrated thing. It wasn't what I wrote down, but I'm giving it an honorable mention. Guten Tag from Germany. We've made it to our next country, another land of delicious eats and drinks. You've got the incredible caramel shop, where you can get all kinds of delicious caramel goodies. You've got Beer Garden, the Germany buffet, and of course you have a lot of delicious, tasty beer. But what is gonna hit our most underrated and overrated? I'm gonna let you know right now, they're both snacks, and the overrated one might make some of you mad. It's the giant pretzel. I know, people love the giant pretzel. But do you really love the giant pretzel, or have you had too many beers? Ask yourself that question next time you eat it. The giant pretzel is fine. It's delicious in theory, and it is good. It's nice and salty. But do you know how many other better pretzels there are in Walt Disney World? I usually find it to be a little dry. I usually find it to be too salty. And I find it to not be the best snack that you can get here in Germany, which coincidentally is our underrated answer. Say hello to the pretzel bread pudding. This is a newer arrival. It arrived earlier this year, but it is bread pudding, but instead of using regular bread, they're using the pretzels that people love so much. And then it's topped with this yummy vanilla glaze. I've had it one other time and it's changed my life. I haven't stopped thinking about it since, and I can't wait to dig in. Obviously, things like the delicious treats in the caramel shop are probably the most popular desserts here, but I don't think those are overrated because they're amazing. But they're certainly not underrated because most people know about the amazing caramel shop. But not very many people know about this amazing bread pudding. It's made out of pretzels. No, I'm not kidding. This is one of the best desserts you can get here. The bread itself has a little bit of saltiness because, again, it's made out of pretzels. It kind of has, it almost reminds me of carrot cake, but there's no carrots in it. It's definitely a sweet treat. It's definitely dessert. But because of the saltiness from the pretzel, it's not sickly sweet like a lot of the stuff in the caramel shop. It's also pretty affordable. It's less than $5. It's not a huge dessert, but you can definitely share it if you're eating around the world. Way better than just getting the pretzel. Ni hao from China, where we've got more fun things to discuss. We're going to start with overrated in China, especially because it's on my way to the underrated. Don't you love when things work out like that? Overrated, we're once again talking about a quick service restaurant, this time the Lotus Blossom Cafe, which is the quick service restaurant here in the China Pavilion. And it's fine. You're going to get some, lovely orange chicken or some Mongolian beef, but the main problem is you can get that from any Chinese restaurant pretty much anywhere in the country. It's no better than Panda Express, but I promise it's more expensive. So while China usually dazzles at the food and wine kiosks and the various festival kiosks, as far as the quick service goes, it's not going to be anything that unique. It's not going to be anything that special, but it is going to be expensive. So there's better places to eat around the world. And as far as underrated goes, welcome to the House of Good Fortune. This is a really large souvenir shop located in China, and while it doesn't have quite as much bang as Mitsukoshi over in Japan, it doesn't have quite as many familiar characters since they have Japanese characters like Pokemon and anime. It does have a lot of really fun, unique stuff that even if you're not going to buy anything, it's really fun to look at. So you've got adorable dog outfits like, should I make Kronk a lion? As a potato chip lover, one of my favorite things are the Lays from around the world. So they've got roasted fish, spicy crawfish. What's this one? That's interesting. Black truffle, I bet that's delicious. What about this one? Hibiscus sakura shrimp. Okay. I love this one. Mexican chicken tomato flavor. Cucumber, numb and spicy hot pot flavor, roasted chicken wing flavor. I think these are so fun. They've of course got some candies and teas and other snacks as well. And it could be really fun to do like a snack crawl around the world where you've got different chits and things for your kids in each country. If you wanted to especially eat and drink around the world as an adult, that'd be a fun way to involve everyone in the family. Making our way into Norway, what do you think the most overrated thing in Norway is going to be? You have mere seconds thanks to movie magic. If you guessed Frozen Ever After, you'd be right. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Frozen Ever After. I think it's an adorable attraction. You knew Disney had to make a Frozen attraction when that movie was incredibly popular. And I think this one's really cute. I think the animatronics are fun, especially I love the Sven and Olaf. I think the music's great. And it's a really fun, lovely family boat ride attraction. But much like Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, when you spend 60 plus minutes in a line, it's pretty hard not to consider something overrated if it doesn't absolutely blow you away. Frozen Ever After has a very long line because it's incredibly popular, as well as the fact that many people book this as a lightning lane, so then the standby line gets longer and longer. There's also the people who are still clinging on to Maelstrom, I understand. So those people, we're going to have a hard time loving Frozen no matter what. So I think Frozen Ever After is wonderful, but I wouldn't recommend waiting in a super duper long line for it if you can avoid it. This is a great one to do first thing in the morning, book it with a lightning lane, or if you are a deluxe resort guest, you can ride this one at night with little to no wait. So we love Frozen, we're not going to let it go, but we don't love long lines. And now from something everybody knows about, everybody's heard of Frozen, to something very few people know about. And that's the Stave Church here in Norway. Did you know you could go in here? Look at this. There's like 3 people in here. Many of the countries have these little exhibits that have real artifacts on display, talking about different things in their culture. And this one talks about the Viking gods. So you are going to hear some familiar names if you're an MCU fan. You've got Odin, Thor, Loki, and Freya. They're all carved into this tree right here. Hey Loki, love you buddy, love that little mischievous face. And they also have some incredible actual things on loan from Norway, like these blacksmith tools that are from 800 to 1000 AD. My brain literally cannot even comprehend how old that is, and it's something that a lot of people don't expect to see in EPCOT. Now again, several of the countries have these little exhibits. You've got one in Japan, American Adventure, Morocco, France, China, and I think these are such a fun thing to do. If you are just meandering around EPCOT, you could bring your drink in here, look at things. It's a great way to cool off a little bit, get out of the heat, get out of the crowd, and it's something that a lot of people don't realize is here. Like I said, it's a busy day at EPCOT, and there's 3 other people in here with me. So very, very cool. I love it. Also, fun fact, when I first came in here, I thought that was Ned Stark. Ooh, perfect timing, because as we head into Mexico, the most underrated thing, our friends Mariachi Cobre. This is the mariachi band that's been playing in EPCOT for decades and decades at this point. In fact, some of the musicians have been playing since the very beginning, and they play several times a day right here in the Mexico Pavilion. It's one of those things that a lot of people don't scope out. They just kind of hear them and keep walking by, but they are delightful. They'll do smaller sets like this where they have just a few instruments, or they'll do the whole band. They play music from Coco, which is absolutely lovely. I recommend grabbing a margarita, listening to Mariachi Cobre. It does get really hot out here, so if you can watch kind of a later set, that might work better. And I do recommend, if you want to stand here, you're going to want to get here early because there's not a ton of space right here because they have to keep the walkway open. But when I go to EPCOT, I very rarely ride anything. I just like walking around, eating, drinking, and enjoying the different pavilions, and the live performers really bring them to life. The most overrated thing in the Mexico Pavilion? The Fiesta Margarita from La Choza de Margarita. Again, please let me explain. La Choza de Margarita is one of several quick service dining locations here in Mexico. You've got Choza de Margarita right here, Cantina de San Angel right here, and then inside you've got La Cava del Tequila. And the Fiesta Margarita is one of their signature drinks. It is a frozen strawberry, a frozen lime, and a frozen mango margarita layered on top of each other to make a multi-layered frozen delight. But here's why I say it's overrated. You can get this margarita, frozen mango margarita, in a million different Mexican restaurants. So when you're paying $15+ for a cocktail in EPCOT, don't you want it to be a little more unique? My real recommendation for a margarita in Mexico, though, is of course inside La Cava del Tequila. This is the tequila bar inside the Mexico Pyramid. You can sit down in their limited seating for some drinks, as well as some light bites, maybe some chips and guacamole or queso, or you can go to their walk-up bar. They have over 100 different mezcals and tequilas that you can do. Think of any fruit and some vegetables, and they probably have it as a margarita. They've got a blood orange one. They've got a spicy jalapeno one. So my saying is not to not get a margarita in Mexico. I think you should. I do it all the time. But it's just to pick one that's a little more unique, a little more special. Well, that's a wrap on the most overrated and underrated thing about each World Showcase country. I hope you had fun following along. Let me know what your favorite pavilion is down in the comments. In the meantime, friends, it's been magical. Now go watch Perfect Day at EPCOT.